Hello, welcome to Just the Facts. We have a tremendous episode for you today because we're joined by a very special guest, Mr. Tom Love, CPO Manager, Hyundai Motor Corp.
Mr. Grill?
Did I say that right?
Yes, you said it right. Thank you very much. It's an honor to be here with you. It's an honor to be here with the Carfax team. So thank you very much for having me.
You know, we invited Tom to join us because we know today's environment for CPO has been through a lot, right? It's been through a lot. The industry's been through a lot. And Tom brings a unique perspective to the table today where if we look pre-COVID and during COVID and kind of what we're looking for in the future, that's what we're hoping Tom can share with us today. So Tom, we all went through hell for the last few years, right? With COVID and all those things. You guys certainly have experienced that like everyone else has, right? But CPO seems to have been steady. It always seems to be steady, right? It doesn't seem to be affected with the highs and lows, or at least as instantly, right? So in your opinion, what do you think would be like the one thing or the one or two things that the last 2 years have really brought different to the CPO world?
If I think about that, Bob, your question, I think the difference is that the customer really wants some sort of assurance.
Right.
Right. They want to have some sort of knowledge and information that their car will be covered with some sort of warranty in case something happens. And I think customers are more and more aware of what it costs in terms of ownership, and they want that type of level of warranty, of assurance, in order for them to move ahead with a purchase. I mean, to me, that's the biggest thing, that the customers really are demanding this. They're the ones that are driving all the OEMs and that are out there that are moving more and more used cars into certified cars. So that's the biggest thing that I can think of right now.
Yeah, it's interesting you say that because the industry as a whole, right? We know that the millennial generations now comprise 70% of the buying public for us in the industry, and they definitely have brought something new to the table. You know, the old proverbial, how much is the car? How much is my trade worth? What's my down payment? What's my payment, right? The old Foursquare. Well, they've brought to the table an added element, which is being referred to as future cost. Exactly what you just mentioned, right? It seems like a great deal. What's it going to cost me once I own it?
Yeah, and you bring up a great point. To me, my generation was, what's my payment going to be?
Yeah.
The generation now is, like you said, what is this car going to cost me in the future? Am I going to experience any sort of mechanical failures? Who's going to cover those mechanical failures? Will I have enough money to cover those mechanical failures and the like? And that's why I think the customers are turning towards certified pre-owned.
Yeah, one thing too, when you look at all the major listing sites, right, they all have a CPO filter, right? And depending on the sites and the, metro or rural kind of locations, it averages about 15% of the traffic clicks on those CPO filters, right? That means that they already know the inherent value of CPO versus non-CPO, right? And that's what they want to look at. So when you look at that number, it's pretty astonishing that throughout the industry, shortage of inventory, this or that, you can't go, you can go, and all the legal stuff we dealt with, that number still remained. It still seems pretty consistent that 15%, give or take, right? Depends if you're in town or out of town, all that kind of stuff. So there's always been a very consistent, slowly growing each year demand for CPO products.
And Bob, you bring up a good point, and I think customers sometimes, and us as OEMs sometimes don't do the best job of communicating what exactly certified pre-owned is and what it brings to the table for the customers. Customers understand that certified is good, but what does that really mean? And who is certifying it? Is it the OEM that's certifying it? Is it just a dealership or an independent that has some sort of certification process? But that's really, as customers get more and more educated on the benefits of the program, they look more and more towards certified, because nobody wants to get stuck with a bad used car.
No, that's right. And it is funny because anybody can call a car certified these days, right? You got a Fast Freddy certified car somewhere, right? So when we talk to the consumers, that is the misconception. They're never quite sure, is this really like the dealership's certified program? Is it the manufactured certified program? And without question, consumers put additional value into a manufactured back anything, right? I have an extensive dealer background. You either learn to deal with that or you get offended by it. But at the end of the day, consumers put a little more stock and faith on manufactured backed, whatever it might be, whether it's the mechanics certified, right? Whether it's the warranties being a factory warranty. So how do you feel about I don't know the right word, there's a lot more certified products out there today than just the manufacturer, right?
Without a doubt, and I think it's a way for dealers, whether they're franchise dealers or independent dealers, to maybe earn a little bit more money. But when it comes right down to it, the overall benefits available to the customer on an OEM certified program, it just outweighs the other independents and the other certification programs. Because at the end of the day, you know what? The OEM is backing that CPO product, and they're going to be around. They're not going to go Ford, GM, Toyota, Hyundai. They're not going anywhere.
Right.
So that's as a customer, that's who you want to back, your certification program.
Yeah. As we move forward and as we hope, we pray, we feel like we're coming out of the last 2.5 years, who knows what the future brings? No one has a crystal ball. But is there one or two things you personally, not necessarily Hyundai but you personally, are there one or two things that you see changing in the future? We have everything from economic to environmental to all those kind of things. Is there any one or two things you can think of that you're kind of predicting yourself might happen?
Well, COVID has already really pushed people into the digital retailing space, right? So you're going deep into that now, and you're starting to see more and more customers wanting to have some sort of Amazon experience.
Right.
They click and shoot, and they say, okay, I want that car, and I want that car delivered to me. I see that continuing, only because that's what this generation kind of wants.
Right.
The other thing, though, I think you're going to get more and more customers that want to have some sort of warranty that's backing their car, and even if it's with our stuff, it continues out the powertrain warranty, but I think they're looking for more coverages than just a powertrain.
Okay.
They're really seeking. They really want that coverage that assures them that whatever happens to their car, they're not on the hook.
Right. Like the bumper to bumper.
Yes, exactly. And now, and when you think about it too, there's so much more to cars. There's EVs now, so the powertrain and the such may not be the most expensive components in a car now. Now it could be the center stack with all the technology in there. This is very expensive. Or in an EV car, it's the battery. It's really it's not just the engine and the transmission. So it's interesting to see that how things are going to change, because again, customers, I think, are really, to your point, are looking down the line going, how much is this car going to cost me 3, 4, 5 years down the road? And it's not just, how much am I paying for the car right now?
Back when CPO first came out, Lexus, they kind of brought it to the business model way back when, right? The best new car makes the best used car, all that kind of stuff. And it kind of, it rapidly grew because it was successful, right? Back in those days, it was all about conquest market share, and if we could just get a consumer to try our product, they would certainly be more likely to come back and buy our product. Is that still, do you think, in the industry, the motivation for it? Is that still the number one motivation, or is it morphed from that or changed a little bit?
I think it's changed. I think it's morphed a little bit. I mean, it's a great entry into whoever, whatever OEM you are, right? It's an entry point to get you in. If you have a great experience, the data shows you'll come back and you'll consider that brand again, whether it's a new purchase or whether it's a certified purchase. So that's great. But I think, again, the OEMs are looking at certified to do more things than just be an entryway into their brand, than just, we bought a car and the customer is now ours. There's residual value implications.
Right.
Of course, the RV has impact on what we're doing for incentives and incentive amounts. So there's a trickle down effect that comes with if you have a super strong certified program. There's these intrinsic values to it that go down and down the line that help the manufacturer and what they're trying to accomplish. Yeah, great. It's a car sale. It puts another tick mark on the board, and okay, you got a car sold and you got a satisfied customer. But there's way more to it behind the scenes on how it impacts business future down the road for the OEM, for the dealer, and for that matter, for the customer.
You mentioned a little bit, so I'd like to go there just briefly if we can. The service side of the business, right, has become more and more important. More so than it ever was before, right? With the lack of rapid available inventory, although that's growing a little bit, with the volatility and the values and the uncertainty into the car values, the service side of the business, right? It was called fixed ops for a reason. It was fixed cost, fixed structure. You knew how to do the math, right? CPO certainly lends to that. We know that regardless of the brand, customers are more likely to use the service department, and it's the service department that creates the loyalty, is it not?
Absolutely. We take a look at it, and just from personal history, because I did purchase a certified pre-owned car in my lifetime. I brought that car back 3 or 4 times in the course of my ownership, and every time the service department chatted with me, talked with me, made a little bit of money for me, but what they did is they made me a customer of the dealership. My one-time experience buying the car, yes, I had a good experience, but then the next 4 or 5 times that I get and I have a good experience with a service advisor, that's going to make all the difference in the world on when I come back and what store I come back to and whose car I buy from.
Yeah, as we as a company concentrate on that ourselves, right? Because we know that history affects value, right? We know that if a vehicle's been well maintained, well taken care of, if it's been serviced by a certified technician at a franchise location, the consumer sees additional value in that, right? We know that they see additional value in the certified pre-owned. So across the board, across the industry, we know we have stores that we battle trying to help, and they do that same day cert and maybe use it as an extended warranty rather than a marketing ploy, right? And from your personal, we've talked about this. You and I have talked about this extensively for years. You look at the ability to bring in better trades. You look at all those other elements, right? That same day cert is really being used as nothing but a closing tool. Would you agree with that?
I agree with you. And if you take a look at the best dealers, the dealers across the board that are doing a great job with certified pre-owned, they follow the process.
Yeah.
Right? They acquire the car, they recon the car, they get the car ready, they put it on the front line, they advertise it. There's a whole process to that, and they're continually successful, and they probably make more money because they're following the process along the way. The quick, okay, you know what? Yeah, I'm going to certify this car today because the customer wants it certified. That's one and done, right? Okay, great for today. Maybe you made a little bit more gross in the car because the car's got a warranty in it, but it's not the process, and it's really not what the OEM wants. It shouldn't be what the dealer wants either, because the dealer should be treating this as a separate brand,
right? And
in order to have that separate brand of, I got new, I got used, and I got CPO. Well, then there has to be inventory. There has to be cars that are ready to sell. You just can't spot it, because then it just disrupts the whole process. And you're not out there communicating with the buying public that, yes, this is a viable alternative to you. I got 10 or 15 or 20 that are right there, front line ready for you to buy. Just come on and visit with.
Yeah, you know what else is obvious too, and they don't think about this, is they miss out on the filter. If you don't have it certified when it's online, it doesn't fall into the certified filter. You're literally missing out on the 15% who would pay more for that car. The very ideal inventory for the very ideal customer is not making that connection if you don't have it certified.
Yeah. We've chatted about this a couple times. I mean, it's I'm taking a shotgun and I'm firing up in the sky, and I'm hoping a bird falls down, as opposed to having a rifle and finding the bird that I want to hunt. Right? It helps you a lot that if you certify that car and it appears in the certified listings, because it just narrows it down. It builds, like you said, builds a lot of value into that car. And then when the customer comes to the dealership, you don't have to be ashamed or afraid to ask for, hey, this car has more value in it because it is a certified car. You saw it, Mr. Customer, online is a certified car. Therefore, your propensity to spend a little bit more on that car, it's in the back of the customer's head, because once it's explained to him, it's a certified car. It's a little different than a used car, and it comes with all these added extra benefits. Yeah, why wouldn't you be paying more for that car?
Yeah. And here's the thing dealers ask us all the time, and again, I know we've worked on this together. The ideal certified inventory is not that 1-year-old car.
No.
And if it is, you should be getting that out of your internal sources. You shouldn't be going out of your way to buy that car, right? It's that 2 to 4-year-old, right? That comprises over 80% of your sales, of any manufacturer sales, quite frankly. And so it's a little bit painstaking when the dealer kind of throws it all in a basket that it's not working well. But then when you look at their inventory, it was all that 1-year-old auction stuff they purchased and just called them CPO. That's not really the plan, right?
It doesn't help. I mean, like you said, that 3-year-old car with 36,000 miles on it, it's an off-lease car. It's still in good condition. It still has light miles on it. It qualifies for the program. It's almost new, and you make it almost new to the customer, and then they're going to look at that car and they're going to go, yes, I'll be willing. I'll be willing to purchase that car. The car that's relatively new, less than a year old, and it's priced almost right up against a new car. So as a customer, you're going to have to take a look at that and say, well, do I go new? Do I go this car that's really almost new? So that sweet spot that you called is between 2 and 4 years, between 24 and 48,000 miles. That's the sweet spot that these guys should be looking for. Find those cars in their inventory and certify the cars and put them on the front line, and they'll sell. Yeah,
and we've been working with the dealers a lot over the last 2-3 years about finding inventory, right? The whole industry's been on a search for inventory, and their lease returns are their very best CPO product, right? What sells well new sells well used, right? It's got the right equipment. It was the right color. That's why it sold new, right? Mm-hmm. And it comes back typically at 3 years, which falls right in that sweet spot, right? And here's the unique asset to that. That dealer has control over that car, right?
Correct.
If the consumer doesn't take it, then the dealer has first access to that. And when you look at the opportunity they have, if you look 60, 90 days out, that should be the target for certified pre-owned. Would you agree with that?
Absolutely, Bob. And the dealers know that those cars are flowing back into them. They're well aware, probably 18 months out, that either through their own CRM systems or through their captive finance arm, hey, this customer's coming back, their lease is ending. And you have a chance right now to communicate with that dealer to make sure that when that lease is up, okay, you're going to put that customer in a new car, whether it's a purchase or a lease, but that car can be moved right into your certified inventory and sold again, and potentially another time if you do a good job in that. So in a sense of transactions, that same vehicle has been sold by your store 2 or 3 different times, and that's really the foresight of the really strong dealers see that they have an opportunity to sell that car more than once.
All this is great information. We're going to start wrapping this up in the effort to keep it in the time frame we like to. But I want to give you an opportunity, right? You have the dealers as your audience today, right? They've been hearing a lot of negative stuff all the time for the last 2.5 years, negative this, negative that, right? Can you give them whatever you feel would be a moment of positive energy, maybe a good thought to take us away and leave them with a good thing?
Sure. God, you're going to put me on the spot on that one. I worked for a former CEO that said there's nothing like a good crisis, okay, to make people shine.
Yeah.
Okay, we've had a crisis, right? The COVID, inventory, chips, production, and the like. We'll drag ourselves out of that. But if you take a look at what the industry has done and what the dealers have done, they've shored up their processes. They've created They've created a condition where they can now transact digitally, which is what the customer wanted to do years ago, but they were forced to do it a lot quicker. Yeah, there's always going to be challenges. Yeah, production's still down a little bit and lease penetration's down a little bit. But again, you take a look at what's available to them and the tools that are available to them and the programs that are available to them. There's success in the future. And in the strong dealers, I almost want to say the strong dealers are recession proof because they know how to adapt and be flexible to the current environment, business environment, and they make up for it and they continue to be successful. Now, some of the unsuccessful dealers, well, they continue to be unsuccessful. But there's hope in the future. Production will come back. Leasing will come back. The United States market is still pretty strong. So we'll be there.
You heard that live. You heard that from Tom Love. So take that one to the bank. So, hey, thank you for joining us on this Just the Facts episode. Very much we're waiting to be able to do this one. Tom, thank you again for joining us.
Grill,
always a pleasure.
Always a pleasure, sir.
And we will see you next time on Just the Facts.